Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. Although today we are not talking about seasonal anime. No, today we're talking about something that I've been meaning to get to for a while now. Now, for those of you who don't know, Deep Thoughts is a series where I sort of just kind of go off the cuff, talk about whatever I may want to talk about in regards to anime, whether that be typically seasonal anime, which Deep Thoughts is sort of known for, quote unquote, I guess. Like, typically we talk about seasonal anime here on the channel, but every once in a while I like to break away. Sometimes I talk about video games, although people seem to not watch those videos. Rude. But today I wanted to talk about something else. Yes, that's right, because today we are not talking about necessarily anime, and we're not necessarily talking about video games, although we are still kind of talking about things that are, or rather something that is similar to, we're talking about King's Avatar. I finished the first season a little while ago and friggin' loved it, but I didn't really get the chance to talk about it since I felt like the channel had sort of become just strictly seasonal anime. And then I tried making a couple video game videos and people were sort of lukewarm on that, and I decided, like, you know what, one day a week I get to post whatever I want. Though I will try to keep it otaku related, and this is otaku related. It's not necessarily an anime, because today we're talking about a donghua, or donghua, whatever. King's Avatar, or Quanxi Gao Shou, is based off the Chinese web novel by Butterfly Blue, and is animated from GC May Animation and Film. Now, if you don't know who they are, they've done a couple of different donghua. Donghua, for you, if you don't know, I doubt anybody doesn't know by now, but donghua is Chinese, you know how people make the joke Chinese cartoons? Well, this is actually Chinese cartoons. And GC May Animation and Film have made quite a few donghua, though I feel the one that they are possibly most known for, besides King's Avatar, is likely Modao Zushi. And it's also worth pointing out that the series was produced by Tencent, the same folks who own a ton of stuff at this point, but funnily enough, they also own Riot, who makes League of Legends, which the show is often compared to. But I will talk more about League of Legends later in the video. For now, I've separated my thoughts in between art and animation, story and characters, and acting and music. And let's go ahead and dig into the art and animation to start, because I'm sort of torn on the art and animation, because when the show wants to look beautiful, it is friggin' stunning. There are some amazing fights in this, whether that's Yishu versus Tang, or Lord Grimm versus that magician guy whose name is escaping me, or Yishu versus Han Wen King. I'm so terrible with these names, I apologize in advance. But when the show wants to look stunning, it is a treat. I cannot stress enough. I know that I can only show pictures here, but that's because I am mortified of a copyright strike. I know I can only show pictures, but trust me, you need to go watch the show to see some of these crazy fights that the show can pull off. It's genuinely stunning. However, the show also has a habit of reusing animation. Now, normally this isn't a bad thing, but it's to a point where it's pretty noticeable. Like, you'll see shots that they straight up like, there's this one shot of Lord Grimm charging at the camera, and they reuse that all the friggin' time. And it's not terrible, because I mean, it's a good looking animation. It's just noticeable that it's like where they're cutting corners, where they're trying to save their effort to really put towards some of the bigger fights, and that's fair, I get it, it's just worth noting. Also, there is some more cut corners in the sense that they don't necessarily feel the need to draw everything, and instead they put in some god-awful looking CG. And it's not even that they use the CG in ways you might think, like for action scenes, although they do that, but it's usually blended better. The CG looks really jarring, however, when it's shown in the real world, where they're playing the game, where they're playing Glory, and it's for like the chairs and computers and stuff, and it looks way out of place. On the plus side though, as you could probably see by the picture in front of you, because I'm assuming I used one of them, the constant McDonald's shots, they do make me sort of crave McDonald's, which is saying something, because I typically don't like McDonald's. I find McDonald's to be super gross, but for some reason, even though I know it's CG, they make that McDonald's stuff look pretty good. Now I'm going to quickly touch on some of my thoughts on the characters and story, and I gotta say, above all else, the story is so refreshing. It's an anime. It's a donghua, or just, it's a friggin' story in general about video games that doesn't involve the main character getting sucked into a video game. It doesn't involve video game stuff happening in the real world. None of that. It's a game about people who play video games. It's a game. It's a story. It's a story about people who play video games. That's what it's about, professionally, mind you. This is basic. I've seen this show described as two things. One of them is a little bit more accurate than the other. The other one's painfully inaccurate. The first thing I've seen this described as is the Chinese knockoff of Sword Art Online. That is dumb. There is very little Sword Art Online parallels here other than the main character is kind of OP and it involves video games. That's it. The other easy summary I've seen for the show is that it's League of Legends, the anime, and I do kind of see that more in the sense that it's about these people who are really damn good at a competitive multiplayer game, and yeah, I can kind of see the League parallels. That said, Glory, the game that they play in the show, it's a made-up game. They made it up in the original web novel. It's made up. And it isn't quite a League clone as that sort of, like, as people seem to think it is. I'm not super sure how Glory works necessarily, but it doesn't really play like League. It plays first person for one, to just separate it. I'm not a big League of Legends guy. I know jack all about most PC gaming. I'm more of a console guy. So, like, they're saying a lot of words that I was like, okay, neat, yeah. And that is one of the downfalls of the show. What I'm trying to say is that Glory, the game that they play in the universe, doesn't exactly play like League, but I'm assuming you can kind of get an idea as to why people compare it to League of Legends, because, I mean, hey, it's owned by Tencent. They could have easily just swapped out Glory with League and it would have been totally fine. But at the same time, I would be very curious to see somebody actually attempt to make like a working version of Glory in real life. I would genuinely play that. Glory seems like fun. They make this made-up game seem genuinely fun. However, as I said, I'm not a big PC gaming guy, so they were throwing out a lot of words that I don't know if that's actual terminology or made up or what, but it got a little confusing. And like I said, that is sort of a downfall for the show. I don't want to say the downfall, but it's sort of a negative point against the show because it gets complicated. There's lore and characters thrown at you, and it's sort of hard to keep it all straight. And just like me, when I look at Yishu, I love that man, okay? Don't even at me. But yeah, like, it's a little complicated to keep the story straight. Not the story. The story is pretty straightforward. Just Yishu is kicked out of his team, and then he goes off on his own, and it seems as though he's going to form his own team. Keep in mind, I've only seen the first season. I haven't seen the OVAs yet. But yeah, it seems as though he's going to eventually build his own squad. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's neat. Yishu himself is probably my personal favorite character, which is convenient given that he's the main character. But I like watching this. Like, they pull off something that I find is very difficult that most shows struggle with, and that's to have a character who's relatively OP. He's not like crazy OP. He does stand toe-to-toe with a couple other characters. Like, a lot of the characters in the show are very good at Glory. They are very good at this game. They are pros, obviously. And he does come across, when he's playing Lord Grimm, as really OP. But he's also still likable, which I find a lot of shows have a hard time pulling off correctly, because he still feels like a genuine person. Like, he feels like a dude who's sort of in like the twilight of his career. He's getting a little on in age. He's not super old, mind you. It's just he's old enough. He's getting old. He's getting to retirement point, given like the pro gaming circuit. So he's sort of in like the twilight of his career. He's sort of introspective, but he's coming back into this world that he finds comforting and familiar. And it makes him a really fun character. He's a really neat character to watch on screen. And part of the fun is watching the baggage that comes from his long history with Glory sort of come up and bite him in the butt during this current first season, and especially when it comes to Han Wenjing. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I apologize. But Han and Yi have this really dope meetup, and they're two characters who were both these like really impressive gamers back when the Glory first kicked off, and their careers like kind of skyrocketed at the same time, so they have this sort of rivalry. This only really comes into play at the end of the series, but allow me to say that the end of the first season of King's Avatar might be the most dope ending to any first season I've seen. And in talking about that, we're going to quickly touch on acting and music, because the OP to this show is so cool and so dope that every time I'm playing a game, in my head I just hear dun 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 dun. Like, it's such a cool friggin' like, it's so dope. And the coolest part about any show is when they pull in the OP for like a big moment in the show. And they pull that move here too in King's Avatar for the fight in the finale between Yi Shu and Yan Wen King. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing that. And as that's happening, it flashes to when they were their original avatars. Those two avatars being Desert Dust and One Autumn Leaf. And when we see these two fighting, the OP kicks up, but it's sung by a different person, and it has a more like rock-oriented sort of feel to it. And it is, I can't put into words how dope it is. Like, I was just like just imagine me enjoying the show and like enjoying the ride and having this like big crazy cool fight that ends with like Han shouting like, "What happened to our glory?" Like, and it hits like the two hits connect, and then this rock version of the OP starts, and you see like how these two formed this rivalry over time, and how like they've grown to care about each other as rivals. And so Yi Shu coming back kind of brings something out of Han, and and you see the two like, it's just, I just can't, it's such a friggin' cool, it's such a cool finale. It's easily far and away one of my favorite finales of most shows I've seen this year. And if you're curious, yes, the show is, because it's based off a Chinese web novel and it is a donghua, it is voiced in Mandarin. So I know some people might be like, but I only watch dubs, or I only watch like Japanese dubs. I assure you the Mandarin is really like you get used to it. Once you get used to it, it really grows on you. These actors are really solid, especially Chen Go. I know that Ku already pointed that out in his own discussion on King's Avatar, and has probably pointed that out numerous times because I know he loves her to pieces, but I also love her, and she is far and away the best actress on the show. I freaking love her. She's great. Overall, if I had to give the show a rating, it would definitely be a B+. I do think there's a ton to love about this show, and believe me, when it's hype, it is friggin' hype. And it's neat to have a show that's about video games that doesn't exactly involve any isekai shenanigans. However, there's a lot to digest in this first season, and I do feel like they fumbled the ball a bit in certain areas, like the too many characters, too much lore thrown at you, blah, blah, blah. And I do feel like a second season could highly improve that, which, as I said before, we are getting. Okay, this probably went on a little too long. I apologize for that. I'm still trying to get used to talking about full series as opposed to just individual episodes. I prefer doing seasonal reviews. I prefer doing episodic reviews. Doing full reviews is sort of tricky, but I did want to talk about King's Avatar before it comes back in full swing very, very soon, and we will be talking about that on the channel, so I hope you're excited for that. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, then you already know what to do. Hitting that like button, sharing the video around on the internet, that'd be super rad of you. And if you would like to stick around and check out more from me, then by all means go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join the good ones. And as always, I gotta give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Dominic, Urza, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Omner Garamond, Opinionated Slime, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Tristan, and Veridin. Thank you all so much for checking out today's video, and be sure to let me know what shows you would like me to maybe do like a full series review on, something like that. And yeah, until our next meeting, stay rad, and don't scary.